Welcome to the Solo Salon Owner Podcast. My name is Adrienne Schottler, and I am here to share with you my 20 years of beauty experience, both good and bad, so that you can grow and learn and advance your career in the industry. Grab yourself a snack, your favorite cocktail, and enjoy. Today, you'll be joining me while we talk to our special guest. I recently had the privilege of chatting with Macy from 40 Volume Marketing about her business and the beauty industry as far as salon marketing and social media marketing goes. 40 Volume Marketing is a boutique marketing agency for small businesses looking to expand their business organically through Instagram and Facebook. Macy has 17 years of experience in the beauty industry as a business owner, stylist, marketing director, brand educator, and mentor. She and her team understand the needs of the beauty-based industry, and they want to help us provide an exceptional client experience and find the right clients online. She wants to help us tell our stories. So please welcome Macy from 40 Volume Marketing. You have been doing hair, or you were a hairdresser, I assume, because I watched
Yeah.
a ton of your videos on TikTok.
Oh, I know. Isn't that so funny about TikTok? Like you decide to follow, and then it's like, well, now you're going to see everything that they ever made. But yeah, I was
Exactly.
a stylist behind the chair for 17 years.
Okay.
And I also I was director of communications and admissions for a cosmetology school and did marketing there. That was kind of my big first step into marketing. And then I left that, restarted my whole career again behind the chair until the end of 2020. And that's when I stepped away.
Okay.
So I've been 100% away from the chair now for 2 years, but I started really doing marketing about 5-6 years ago.
Okay. And so I did, because your TikTok took me to your Instagram and that took me to all your links. And
Yeah.
so I kind of explored a little bit. And so you're focusing completely on salon specific or beauty specific marketing,
Yeah.
or just like
Yeah.
social media marketing in general?
Yeah. It's just mostly like, so as I started getting into marketing, I've done marketing now for a number of different businesses. And what I found is that every time I would go to work with like a beauty business or a salon, I was making a lot of additional tweaks to the standard. Like there are standards, like when I say standard, but just like conventional, like this is how many of this type of posts you should do a month, and this is how many of this type of pictures, and all these different kinds of things. And I found it was really very different because beauty industry doesn't really fit into the product or service niche.
Right.
It's a hybrid of both. And then you
Mhm.
have to also add in the layer of experience. So it's a really different animal. And so while I've done a lot, I prefer beauty industry still. I think it's always going to be a part of me.
Right.
It's
Absolutely.
kind of where my heart still is,
Hmm.
and all that. So I say it's good advice for any location-based service provider, but really it is very beauty industry specific. So what I'm doing right now is primarily in the past, I started like just doing marketing for people. And then I started putting together custom marketing plans for salons specific because they were like, I don't have the money in my budget to hire a social media manager, which is
Right.
true, and
Absolutely.
that's just how it is. So then okay, here's a custom marketing plan for you. It's a 12-month, just recycle it every 12 months, make the tweaks for the holidays, whatever. Just do
Right.
the same thing over and over every year. And still that's kind of cost prohibitive for somebody to do. So now what I'm doing is I'm walking through showing owners, independent stylists somewhat, but it is really most beneficial for owners,
Hmm.
how to create a social media marketing plan for themselves for a year
Okay.
or 30 months, or just so how to do that for yourself. So yeah, so I have a course that I'm right now. What I'm doing is I'm taking through, like, so what I used to do for like a one-on-one client is I would call it just a VIP day. We meet 4 hour
Right.
Zoom call usually. A couple weeks later, here's your marketing plan. And so what I'm doing is I'm showing them how to go step by step through that process for their own salon. And so I have a course created, but it
Hmm.
needs tweaking, and I need feedback
Right.
from people like, oh, this didn't make sense. Do you remember that I don't do marketing for a living? I don't know what this means,
Right.
or all these other kinds of things. So that will probably be in early March is when all
Okay.
of that will actually really be live for somebody to purchase. But founding members, just like if somebody would be interested in kind of being a guinea pig.
I might be on that. I might be on that train for you. So we'll see. We'll see. So, all right. So I want to um, dive in to what I sent over to you. Um,
Yes.
and so when when you stitched my video, I went to your page and I kind of looked at it, and the first thing that you had pinned talked about systems and processes, and I was like, "Oh, girl after my own heart." Like I'm the system and process queen, and when I had employees, it would drive them crazy. But I'm like, it works. It works. Routine works. If you stick to the routine, it's smooth sailing. People don't lose their minds. We're not running around like chickens with our heads cut off. So, systems and processes is super important. And I think the salon industry, of course, is so creative. We don't want to be corporate. We don't want to have a lot of rules. So I think that's where
Mhm.
a lot of our sisters go wrong in the business. But one of the things I wanted to ask you is, what is a marketing strategy versus a marketing plan? Because you had a couple of videos about that.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
So it does get a little bit blurry because they get used interchangeably so often.
Okay.
So I always kind of say, like, a marketing strategy is kind of like planning a trip.
Hmm.
Like, it's I'm gonna stop, I'm gonna, if you're on a road trip, you're planning out bathroom breaks, you're
Hmm.
planning out where you're gonna stop and eat for your lunch, and where you're gonna stop for the night, and you're doing all of that. The marketing, so that's your strategy, and it's to get you to a final destination. It really, it's not just hopping in the car and going for a joyride and let's
Right.
go wherever it takes us. You have a
Okay.
real specific end goal in mind. So that's just this, and you've got strategies to get there. The
Hmm.
plan is really the doing of it and setting up, making sure, okay, so I've got gas in the car, I've got, napkins in the glove compartment. Do I have the things I need with me? And it, to really boil it down, probably the simplest is that the plan is how you execute the strategy.
The step by step.
So yeah, yeah, it's the nitty gritty stuff. The strategy is kind of like the big stuff, and it's how do I want to connect with my people?
Okay. Okay.
What feels good for me? What's the message that ultimately I want them to hear about? How are the people that I serve even gonna hear that?
Hmm.
So the strategy is the part that will initially appeal a lot more to creative types,
Right.
because it's thinking and it's a lot about exploring possibilities. And I always work from, like, let's pick something that feels good.
Hmm.
I think with social media was something that so wrapped up, and for a lot of us it has, like, it has negative sides.
Of
It's
course.
not all fun and games, it's not rainbows and lollipops, and there really is, like, a troubling side sometimes to it. So having that end goal in place allows you to stay in the part of it that feels good for you, so that you're doing it in a way that feels good and brings the kind of energy that you want out for your business.
Right. Okay.
good to know. So in doing these plans and strategizing, do you suggest that we pick one platform at a time to master and then share? Or should everybody tries to be at every platform, trying to do all the things? How do you
Yeah.
suggest people
I
handle
think,
that if they're not familiar?
yeah, I would say if you're familiar with one social media platform and that's where you want to be in, cool. It's a huge question because you have to consider, first of all, is that where your existing people are?
Right.
Because if you're advertising in a place that your existing people are not, are you willing to wait to grow that? Do you have financially, do you have the time to grow that? Are you trying to make a shift in your business? Are you trying to grow your clientele, or are you really trying to deepen the connection that you have with your clientele? Those are all things that would go into informing. And then there are demographics as well, right?
Right.
It's
Right.
like the younger crowd is going to be on TikTok, then you've got Instagram, and then you've got Facebook. So it's all about, are you shifting? If you're shifting, you need to shift to where they are. If you're just looking to kind of deepen the connection, stay where you are and stay where you're comfortable, I think
Mhm.
you probably should, whether or not you're investing a lot of time into it, definitely have Facebook and Instagram.
Mhm.
Like, you need to have a presence on those,
Right.
but you don't necessarily have to be actively pursuing both at the same time. I would recommend starting with one and then moving into the other.
Together.
They're different animals. There's a little overlap, but they're different.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely see that in my clientele right now. And some of them aren't active on social media, like they take breaks and all that stuff. So you have to take that into consideration too.
Mhm.
Um, so I've been doing nails for 20 years. I'm 50 years old.
Mhm.
I was brought up in we're going to go to a marketing networking breakfast, or we're going to go to a chamber event, or we're going to go hand out cards different places. The newer girls that I've had as students, they are not interested in any of that. So I still feel like they
Mhm.
need to have person to person relationships, trying to inform that this is a relationship business. You still have to talk to people. Well, I'm going to offer silent appointments. Not everyone comes to the salon to have a silent appointment.
Right.
So it's uncomfortable for them. So social media,
Mhm.
do you feel like it replaces in-person networking, or I mean, how
No.
does it
I
balance? Like, you
there
still have to balance it, right?
Yeah, I will say there are very, very few stylists who will ever become successful, or beauty professionals who will ever become successful from social media alone.
Right.
Like, it doesn't happen that way. They might get, like, you do get clients. Like, you do get clients
Yeah.
that way. But I really feel the real purpose for social media for us is to be able to back up what our referrals are saying, or to back up the promise that we've made to somebody. You run into somebody, you're in nails, right?
Hmm.
So you're out all the time. People say, I love your hair, I love your style, whatever. And you're like, thanks, you should come see me. And
Hmm.
so even if you hand them a card or whatever, I suggest, why not have a card? Put a QR code on it, whatever,
Right.
that takes you to. I love a QR code that takes you to a link tree,
Hmm.
because then they get to choose which service they like or whatever. But
Right.
you know, it's really a way to supercharge that, because I always say referrals come with um, an asterisk nowadays, where
Hmm.
it's like, sure, I'll take my friend's advice, I'll take her referral, but I'm going to check this out first.
Right.
They're going to get on Yelp or Google, Instagram, wherever they like to check up on that kind of stuff. So I think that's still the real big part of social media, is that it's there to reinforce the message of whatever that message is for your salon, whether it's that you're a fun place, you're a
Mhm.
serious place, whether you're a quiet place, where there's like,
Right. Right.
super zen or whatever, to kind of tell all of those things that you wouldn't even really know just by looking at somebody else's hair or seeing somebody else's nails.
Right. Good to know. Backup. It's a backup plan basically for what you're already
Yeah,
producing.
it can be like it can be the big driver, but that requires a lot of work.
Right.
Like
Well,
if you want social media to be the number way you get clients, it can totally happen and it's going to require a lot of work.
yeah, because I feel like a
Most
lot of
people I know
social
don't want to
media, yeah, a lot of social media attracts people that aren't in your area or other stylists looking at your work or wanting to watch what you do because they want inspiration. I mean, I know I'm a follower of a lot of people that are out of the
oh,
country to see what they're doing, right? I'm not a client,
yeah,
so maybe 20% of clients I've attracted through social media.
yeah.
And I think that some of the newer, well, I also think beauty schools are to blame. But they just get so disappointed that they're not getting clients. And I'm posting 4 times a day. And I'm like, but are you talking to the hairdresser that you work with? Are you talking to the
Right.
businesses next door? So I
Mhm.
think, trying to enforce that it's not just social media. You've got to
Well, and
divvy up
even
your
just
marketing.
I always say when so back when I was telling you that like I started after I left the job at the cosmetology school, I built my business over from
Mhm,
scratch. I had zero clients. And I was scared because at that point I'd been behind the chair for 15 years and
mhm.
I had left a successful, really good clientele. I had farmed them out to stylists and I was not about to try and like just take them all back. Did a
Bring them
few of them
back,
come back
right.
for sure?
Mhm,
Right. A few of them came back and we were people that I maintained connections with them beyond the
mhm.
chair. So, but because I'd already been in that marketing thing, I thought, I'm going to use social media, but it wasn't just posting. In fact, it was actually being social on social media.
Mhm.
Like go out and try to connect with other people because
Right,
then I always say, this is what worked for me is I was looking who was active on social media and I was kind of stalking them, thinking, would
right,
I want that person in my chair? I would look at their whole pages. So for me, the big thing was if their page was full of selfies, I did not actually, I just knew that that wasn't my client.
mhm,
My client is, she was a 6 week touch up
mhm,
and, she liked to watch HGTV a little bit on the weekends and hang out.
mhm.
She's not fussy. She's not prone to having a page full of selfies. So then I would maybe connect a little bit. After a while, I'd send her a message. I say, hey, I really I like your vibe. If you're in the market for a stylist, I'd love to see you. But
Right,
regardless, it's been great connecting with you here. That's how I built my clientele. And then they
mhm.
would go and look at my Instagram and it just kind of reinforced that, hey, if I were to go see Macy, she's not going to do me bad. And we're
Right,
probably going to have a good laugh, you know, share a good time, and then I'll go back to my low maintenance life.
right, right. Absolutely.
So I think that's the missing component a lot of times for newer stylists is that um they think that the hair is what gets them in the chair. That's why I
Mhm.
say it's not. It might get them in the chair once, but it's not going to keep them there.
Yeah, no, I mean, 50% of people tend to come back because they personally like you or they like your personality or your space or something else. Your technique can be great, but it's something else attracting them to
Yeah.
stay.
Because the reality is we know mediocre stylists who are crazy successful.
Right.
And I mean, I don't even mean mediocre in a bad way. They're just a really average stylist and
Yeah.
they're killing it on their books.
Yeah, they're good at what they do. Mhm. I After I had talked to you about doing the podcast, I was out on the interwebs and found all kinds of things started popping up. What to post on your Instagram, what to put on your social media. And it was all over the place. Like nothing was consistent, right? So I thought it was kind of funny. So of course, we connected through the fact that client shaming is bad on social media. And
Yeah.
I still just can't wrap my head around. And it's a lot of nails. I see more nails than hair. Maybe that's just because what I follow, but um even the professional magazines, I'm sad to say, they're just using other people's content and reposting all of their videos. And
Yeah.
so it's a little shocking, but I wanted to run by a couple of the suggestions of what not to post on social media and see if you agree.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So one of the things was, do not post pictures of your empty salon. Would you agree or disagree?
I would not, I would say, like, if that's how it looks really good sometimes,
Right,
and if it fits with the vibe of everything you're trying to do, like if you are selling peace and serenity, if you are selling a relaxing time, don't post pictures of it full.
right,
But if you're selling a good time, like let's hang out, and like my personality and the personality of the people in the room, kind of the energy, that's what you're coming for, I probably would, it would be tough. But I
yeah.
don't think it's going to hurt. That's,
I
I
don't
want to say that's the big thing. I don't think it's going to hurt to post an
know,
empty picture of your salon.
because you still get a vibe of the aesthetic and what they're walking into, whether it's clean,
Right.
whether it's dirty, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
Memes. How do you feel about people posting memes in their business pages?
I think as long as it fits with the kind of humor that you want people to associate you with, you know, it's kind of all up for grabs.
Mhm.
But some people really don't, for whatever reason, they really don't want to be seen as very professional. I think the more memes you post, the less professional you will seem.
Right,
But that's not necessarily a bad thing either, right? Because having some can make you more relatable. I just say kind of like, I like memes personally. I like a good gif. I love a good laugh.
right.
So
I
I would
tend
just
to
make sure
post,
that it's the right humor.
yeah, I tend to post those more in my stories than on my actual page.
And I think that that's great because stories is where you're connecting with the people who are already in your business. So
Right.
I think that that's a great place to have it because it's kind of, you're letting them behind the curtain a little bit. You're
Uh-huh.
like, okay, I always used to tell people like Macy's on the feed, and the kind of the freak show, the real Macy, she might show up in stories a little
In
more
the stories.
often.
Right, right. Um, we've all seen the pages that are only before and after pictures,
Mhm.
or they're the same pose or the same back of the head. I would have to agree that that's definitely not something to post all the time. Would you agree?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but
100%.
I've also told some of my students, if you're going to post a before and after, post a story about, this is what I did and this is why we did it. Like, give them a story. Don't just be like before and after. Trash
Yeah,
nails, great
exactly.
nails.
Yeah, because your your caption should say what the picture doesn't, right?
Right,
Because a picture should be saying so much. You don't like, if you're posting these gorgeous like purple nails, you don't need to put anything about the color purple or
right,
like love purple. Look at that lilac, you know. I
right,
mean, like all these things that we do, like we totally do it, but we don't need to do that. That was already in the picture. Tell them something they didn't know already in the captions.
right.
So they can already see the before and after. From a visual standpoint, it needs to be compelling to look at. You
Mhm.
know, Diana Vreeland, who was the editor of Vogue for years, said the eye has to travel. When somebody comes to your page, their eye better travel. like really travel, not just like try to look here and here and here and here, but really travel. So you need to have a balance visually when somebody comes to your Instagram feed. Facebook, not super important. TikTok, I think also not super important, but 100% on Instagram, it does.
Okay.
So, I mean, you need to show, sure, some before and afters, but let's have some text stuff, you know, a little meme to connect with people, show them some behind the scenes, show them some of the process. For
Hmm.
sure, lots of actors. You don't want to confuse people and let them think that you drink coffee all day and go on walks in the afternoon and you do nails once a week,
Right.
you know,
Right. Right. I,
which, you know, that happens.
yeah, I agree with that. Um, Last two things that they said things you don't want to post on Instagram were just retail products, which I kind of disagree with because I carry and I sell retail. So I will post a product, especially if it's something like right now, everyone's dry. So I might post
Mhm.
something and be like, back in stock. This is what it does. This is why you'll love it. Kind of a post. Is that bad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I really don't think so. Especially, you know, if it's mindful, if it's seasonally appropriate,
Hmm.
why not? You
Right.
you know what your clients are asking for. You know what they're struggling with all the time. The biggest problem I see with retail products being featured is that 9 times out of 10, it's the product photo provided by the manufacturer.
Right.
And so a lot of times what happens is it just ends up sticking out like a sore thumb on the Instagram.
Hmm.
You know, it's off brand. And that's usually what it is. It's just off
Gotcha.
brand. So I always like to say, you know, make it as on brand as it can be, you know, and maybe that's, you know, a picture of somebody holding the product, you know, somebody on the shelf in your salon, you know,
Yeah.
things like that, because
Maybe a
it's
video
just
of it
really
being
rare.
used. Yeah. Maybe a video of it being used instead.
For sure. It's really rare that
Mhm.
those two vibes like really mesh
Right.
because, you know, you're it's a different customer.
Yeah. And they have their own look.
Mhm.
So the other posts that I kind of have a love-hate relationship with, especially on Instagram, are discounts, last minute openings, and of course, cancellation policies, which I watched your video about cancellation
Mhm.
policies. Where is a good place to post those types of things for, like, let's say you are having a sale or you do have a last minute cancellation that you want to advertise? Would that be better in stories?
That I stories are a great place for it, right? Because the
Mhm.
people there are already people that are in your business. So they're not necessarily going to be put off by it. I will say Instagram gives you the option of that pinned post. So if you have a
Right.
promotion that's going on for like the month or a week, why not take
In
advantage
it.
of a pinned post so that it's there, right? I like that kind of stuff in the stories though. Um, there's I to me from like a marketing standpoint, it's neither one way or another if you're posting your opening last minute openings in stories. I think in the feed is 100% not the right place because it's just probably not sending out the message that you want
Right.
to prospective new customers. So it's just usually not on brand of I don't know. I wouldn't want some. Did I have clients cancel? Absolutely. I don't know anybody that hasn't happened to. I don't
Absolutely.
want new clients coming to see me thinking that this happens a lot and
Mhm.
that Macy's always going to have last minute opening. I'm okay with that if my existing clients would know. I usually have a little flexibility. I usually have a little opening. I liked it that way. That worked really well for my business. Um, Business coaches will tell you not to do it at all, and you should just have a wait list. That's cool if you have the support and resources to utilize calling a wait list, but
Yeah.
that's not always feasible for a lot of people.
No. I always tell my people that are waiting, either text me in the morning if you're available, or watch Instagram stories because that's where I'm going to put it. So, yeah.
Yeah, and as long as you're setting up the expectation, then I would
Hmm.
say, like, if that's easiest for you, is the best way to make sure it gets done.
Awesome.
And then as far as cancellation policies, I do not like them being on social media anywhere other than in the highlights.
Okay.
And that would even be something I would put under new client resources, so
Okay.
that it's like if a new client was coming, they would want to see policies, procedures, however you want to put it.
Right.
It's For one thing, I would say people get really wordy
Well,
about cancellation policy.
I always find I can't post stuff like that when I'm really irritated because it comes off really negative. And
Yeah,
I'm like, all right, I'm going on a tangent. Here we go. Who's in for the ride kind of
I
a
know.
thing.
Exactly. Yeah. So I love it going out in a text reminder, you
Right.
know. Here's a link if you have any questions about our cancellation policy, here's a link to it on our webpage.
Right.
And then your bases are covered. I always say you want to have a cancellation policy so you don't have to enforce a cancellation policy.
Correct.
The more you have it, yeah. But I don't love it being right up front. It
Blasted.
puts
Yeah.
clients it puts clients on the defensive
Correct.
from the beginning, and I just think it's probably just counterintuitive to what we usually actually want.
Hmm. Okay. Well, I'm not going to hold you for too much longer, but if people were interested in working with you, what is the best way for them to find you and contact you?
So the best way is you can send me a DM on TikTok.
Hmm.
Macy is my girl. And on Instagram is at 40 volume marketing, or my website is 40volumemarketing.com. And those are the easiest ways.
Okay. Perfect. Well, I thank you very much for spending time with me today.
Yeah, thanks. It was
Y-
fun.
You're welcome. And I will definitely be sending you possibly some follow-up questions, but I will wrap it up here and let you go. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Macy.
Thanks, Adrienne.
Nice talking to you. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for spending time with me today at the Solo Salon Owner podcast. This content is for continuing education purposes, and I do recommend any financial decisions or legal decisions should be consulted with the proper professionals. If you'd like to leave me a voicemail, you can at the link below, or you can contact me and get a free consultation at solosalonowner.com or follow me on Instagram at solosalownowner. Please rate and leave a 5-star review on Spotify or Google Podcasts. I look forward to talking with you soon.